Hey, I see you now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
That's good. Tell me about your grandmother.
So she was gonna be 65 on the 23rd.
Mm.
She had COPD since 2009. And she was diagnosed with CHF in February. And in September, my youngest uncle, or her youngest son, passed away
Oh no.
in suicide.
Fuck.
And a little bit after that, she was diagnosed with endometriosis. And then she was put on hospice because of her COPD, which is a terminal illness.
Mm.
She was on hospice since February when she was diagnosed with CHF. And she was doing pretty good. I mean, besides her having to be on oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
she was still, mobile. She, wasn't bedridden or anything. She was just an odd case for hospice, because hospice is usually for people who are, already on their way out or their
Right.
deathbed.
Yeah, it's like 6 months to a year type thing, right?
Yeah. So she had actually been on hospice since February.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she got diagnosed with cancer, she kind of freaked out a little bit. She's like, oh, I'm as good as dead. We all talked to her, tried to be her support system, and got her to understand that, she could still survive from that. People survive with, cancer and AIDS and all kinds of stuff. Nowadays, medicine advancing towards that. And then she finally moved back in with my mom from New Mexico because she was staying with a sister. And then this was the beginning of December. So December 1st, she moved in with my mom. My mom got a 3-bedroom apartment. And my mom took her to the doctor last Monday.
Fuck.
And she told my mom, she's like, oh, I wanna, because I work at the hospital. And I told them what to do. And I was like, well, you guys can get networked with, the radiologists and the doctors here at work. And, we can get a plan of action to get her the surgery she needs.
Mm-hmm.
The main concern was that with her COPD, there was a really good chance that we could lose her.
Right.
Doing the surgery. She wouldn't wake up after being anesthetized.
Mm.
And so she was like, well, I'd rather take the chance, And then, so that was Monday last week. And then, Tuesday was good, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, my mom did say that all that week she'd been kind of, actually ever since they went to the doctor, that Monday she'd been kind of like having like dreams or talking in her dreams to people that had passed away, like her late husband, other people. And she'd wake up kind of like in a daze. And then my mom said that Thursday or Friday, she didn't really want to eat much or drink much. I think that was Friday. And they had just replaced her mattress. She had like the hospital beds.
Mm-hmm.
Replaced her mattress. She was a bigger woman, so she was always complaining about, being uncomfortable or about having pain. And so they replaced her mattress with the air mattress.
Mm-hmm.
She was sitting on the edge of the bed like she always did. She had like they're called chucks in the hospital, but it's like a mat, like a little, think of it like a little pee pad.
Mm-hmm.
And so she'd have those under her when she was laying down, and one of them, I guess, slipped down to her foot. And when she like applied pressure to scoot herself back, she slipped and she fell sitting down. So she fell on her bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And, she didn't hurt herself or anything. My mom couldn't pick her up because she's like 300 pounds. And so they called the fire department. This was on Friday the 13th. Called the fire department. They came, helped her up. And then her hospice nurse came. So this was like at 5 o'clock in the morning. Her hospice nurse came around 11, 12, and my grandma was complaining about a little bit of pain. And so the nurse gave my grandma Tramadol and some I can't remember the medicine, but it was a anti-anxiety medicine. It's called a benzocaine or something like that. And she, my grandma was fine. This was at 12. At 3 o'clock, the tech that usually bathes my grandma came. And she said my grandma was asleep. She'd bathe her on Monday. And then around 4:30, my mom went and checked on her. I was at a restaurant. I was going to have pho. And my mom, and I was on the phone with T-Mobile because I was asking about an error that was on my account. And my mom called me once, and I was like, okay. So I ignored it because I was on the phone.
Sure.
She called me again right after that. And I was like, okay. So I texted her, and I was like, Mom, I'm on the phone. What's going on? And she took forever to text me. Finally, she texted me. She's like, well, your grandma's unconscious, or your grandma's non-responsive on her bed. And as soon as she told me that, I hung up with T-Mobile, and I was like, I told them, I was like, I gotta go. I'm like, my mom just told me my grandma's not responsive. So I turn on my hazards, and I'm like doing 80 down a small street here in Dallas, and then I told my mom I'd be there as soon as I could. So from 4:30 to 4:45, my grandma was not really breathing sufficient oxygen.
Right.
And I told my mom, I'm like, well, call an ambulance. She's like, well, hospice told me not to. Which makes sense because hospice is not in the business of saving people. They're
DNR.
trying to make people comfortable on their way out.
Yep.
But that being said, my grandma was a distinct case.
Yeah.
And so they told my mom to wait until they showed up. And when I showed up before them, like 15, 20 minutes later, so it was like 4:45, 4:50. And I told my mom to check my grandma's heart rate or her pulse and her oxygen before I got there because I called her. And she said her oxygen was at 0. Her heart rate was at like 110. And so when I got there, I checked her pulse and her oxygen again. Her pulse was at like 110, 112, and her oxygen was at 0 still. Because of CPR, she's 300 and something pounds. One, I couldn't lay her on a flat surface. Two, she still had a pulse, so I'm like, do I start CPR? Do I not? My training says if they don't have a pulse, start compressions.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I didn't know what to do, and all I'm seeing is my grandma basically deprived of oxygen.
Yeah.
I tell my mom, I'm like, we'll call hospice again and tell them that, they're not here. I'm going to call an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
I call an ambulance. By this time, it's like 5 o'clock. So my grandma's been 30 minutes without oxygen.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm thinking. And I call the ambulance. They show up maybe 10, 15 minutes later. So at this point, we're at 45 minutes without oxygen. And they took my grandma, and I told them to take her to the hospital where I work, just because I know all the faculty and everybody there. And I took my time to go to the hospital, and I didn't want to because I knew what the outcome was. Like, sure. I told my mom, I'm like, well, even if an infant is the strongest human being there is. Yep. If an infant were to be deprived of oxygen for 45 minutes, they wouldn't survive. Yep. You'd need certain perfect conditions for them to survive. They'd have to be, at like freezing temperatures, underwater, and they probably still wouldn't survive. I'm like, so if that's the case, like, my grandma's not making it back from this. Mm. And so when we got to, and I yelled at her nurse because her nurse finally showed up. And I was like, what medication did you give my grandma today? And that's when she told me. She's like, I gave her a tramadol and a benzo. I was like, you overloaded her system.
Yep.
Mike, that was too much for her. I'm like, she's one, COPD, and two, you know, she can't metabolize that medicine like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, it doesn't have that kind of reaction. I'm like, yes, it does. I'm like, tramadol does not act the same way with everybody. Like, there's some people where it's an upper and they'll be running around like they want to take over the world. And there's some people where it'll put them in a daze and put them in a coma. Like, it all depends on the chemical breakdown of your body. Like, because it's a type of medicine that deals with pain dependent on how you have to have a chemical in your body that breaks it down. It's a reactive medicine. And she's like, no, it wasn't that. And then, you know, she left. And sure enough, when I got to the hospital, finally around 10, 11, because this all happened, you know, like I said, 5, in the period of 5:30 to 6. The doctors were explaining to my mom, and I was there, and they were explaining to my aunt because everybody was there. And he's like, Abel's probably right. It may have been the tramadol and the benzo that were too much for her, that were the icing on the cake. But then he also shared with us that her pH was very low, and your body lowers a pH to a low amount only when it's severely trying to defend itself or help itself. It's a worst case scenario. He didn't share with us anything other than that, but she did have cancer. So I'm thinking that may have started taking a toll. Maybe the cancer was starting to spread to her kidneys or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Because they did a CT scan, confirmed that my grandma, in fact, had hip problems and other issues. But that was that day. It was the longest night ever, because that Friday night she was on high flow oxygen all night. She was, at first they started her off on like 12 liters of oxygen, 15 liters of oxygen on a non-rebreather. They could barely get her to set to like 80, 75. And they put her on a high flow concentration nasal cannula, which basically completely encompasses your nose. And they started pushing like 35 liters of oxygen. Finally, they got her to set at like 82, 83, no higher than that. They put a CPAP, and that would barely get her past 80. Didn't help that she has a DNR, so that's really all they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But then at some point in the night, she started vomiting, and that's due to them basically just pumping her stomach with air. Mm. Then every time that she would vomit, they would have to, you know, suction her mouth. Mm. But every time they would do that, they'd have to remove the oxygen source. And when they did that, she always desat to like 60s, 50s. But her heart rate stayed at about 100 all night long. I told my mom, like, I'm worried she's going to stroke out on us. And then around 6 a.m., finally I dozed off between 4 and 6. And the doctor, one of the nurses, comes and wakes me up, and she gives me, because I fell asleep in front of the emergency room, and she gives me the phone, and she's like, the doctor wants to talk to you. And the doctor had already pulled me aside. He's like, you know, numbers aren't looking good. He's like, I'm sure you know this. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, have you guys looked into possibly, you know, at some point transitioning to comfort care? Basically giving her some morphine and not having to watch her, you know, deprived of oxygen, and she just quietly goes out. I was like, well, yeah, it is, but I have to explain it to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't just solely make a decision.
Sure.
And so I told my aunt, she's like, no, well, she tries to cry about us. She's like, she tries to, let us know that she'll move her hands, or she'll like complain that she's in pain or something. I'm like, the body does that whenever you're kind of at the end. She's like, no, look, and she was just trying to rationalize that my grandma was still here. Like I told her, I'm like, yeah. My grandma, I called her Mo. I'm like, Mo's been without oxygen for almost an hour today. Like, that's when I got to realize, I'm like, there's no one in the world who could survive with that being the case. Mike, so at some point we're gonna have to transition her to the floor, and we're gonna have to, possibly go with comfort care. Just watch her peacefully, leave us.
Right.
And she's like, I understand. She kind of lost it a little bit. My mama understood because I told her from the get-go, as soon as the doctor told me. And so I told the doctor that, whenever they were ready, whenever they got a room, because unfortunately our hospital's at capacity because it is a county hospital. And whenever they got a room, like around 7:30, 7:40, they woke me up. Well, I wasn't asleep, but they told me, like, hey, we're going to take her up to the floor. And so respiratory, escorts her up to the room, and we all go. And they asked us to wait in, like, the waiting area while they get her situated in the room. And,
Excuse me.
bless you.
Thanks.
And then the nurse comes and gets us, and me and her start walking ahead of everybody, and I tell the nurse, I'm like, what's my grandma's oxygen setting in? She's like, the low 50s.
Mm.
Like, what's her heart rate? She's like, mid 60s.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. So at that point, I already knew, fortunately, once your heart rate gets under, if it gets anywhere close to that, what it was, you're as good as gone. And so everybody gets into the room. Of course, nobody heard this information. Nobody was really paying attention because, fortunately, most of my family doesn't know how to read the vitals on a vital machine or a monitor. So they all sit down and they're kind of chit-chatting amongst each other, reminiscing. And I get them all to calm down, and I'm like, hey guys, just want you to know that Mo's heart rate is at 68 dropping. And, I'm trying to keep my composure. As I'm saying that, it's dropping steadily to 50s, 40s. And then that's when I tell everybody, I'm like, I don't think she's going to make it. And after I said that, it hit 0.
Mm.
But yeah, that's about 8 o'clock Saturday.
It's rough.
Yeah. It sucks because it wasn't really expected. And I was in the process of moving back in with my mom just because, my rent's gone up and this apartment's not worth what they're wanting. So I'm on the waiting list for another apartment. And so I was going to go live with my mom for the time being and, just move out whenever I got my other apartment. And then I was going to be living in my mom's stepdaughter's room for the time being. But now I end up getting my grandma's room.
Were you guys pretty close?
Yeah, I was the firstborn grandson.
Yeah, so naturally.
And then so, I was the spoiled one for the longest.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm the one that gave her the name. Like, in Spanish, it doesn't even have a meaning. It's just Mo, which is M-O. My boyfriend told me that Mo means something in Filipino, but I can't I had paid her cell phone since like 2012, and I told my mom, I'm like, well, great, now I have 3 cell phones because I have an extra one because I helped somebody out like a few years ago. They just stopped paying on it, so I was like, whatever. But it just sucks. All Saturday, I just kept beating myself up because I kept thinking, what if I had just started CPR?
Right.
But at that point, no matter what, it was still too late. She'd already been 15 minutes without oxygen. But
Do you think CPR is the right move? With the heart still beating?
I would have probably broken some ribs. So in her case, no. It wouldn't have done anything, but it would have given me a little bit of peace of mind. I'm fine now, but that's all I kept thinking at first. I was like,
right,
maybe I could have done something. Maybe, instead of waiting for, hospice to show up or...
Sure. Yeah, as like first responder and you have training, you should be able to get into action right away.
Yeah.
And you're going to kick yourself over that. That's understandable. But now that you've had some time, and I know this all just happened, but you've had some time to think on it. If not CPR, then what's the right move?
There wasn't in her case.
What about the bag?
The bag?
Like forcing air into the lungs.
She was on oxygen. She had her nasal cannula, but even then, because of the time frame, because she'd already been 15 minutes without oxygen.
Yeah.
There's not really anything like. If I had gotten there on time, yeah, I could have maybe not done compressions, but I could have done breaths.
Right.
At a minute interval or something, but
maybe
or 30-second intervals, but no. I guess the reason I was beating myself up was because, one, I couldn't get there sooner.
Sure.
And 2, it's my grandma.
Yeah, of course. It's not just somebody off the street.
Yeah, I just felt like I should have been able to help her, been able to do something.
Yeah, I hear you. So I don't know too much about it. That's why I ask about the bag. Like, if I was ever faced with this situation, would bagging help? No.
To be honest with you, you'd be better off just doing compressions and breaths.
Okay, so I guess CPR was maybe the right move.
But
okay.
The reason I didn't do anything was because at that point I was already at 15 minutes.
Yep.
I couldn't do it myself, and I didn't have a team to be able to lay my grandma on a flat surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to end up pulling her and hurting her even more.
Right. Time's really important.
Unfortunately, that was the main thing that we had already elapsed over.
So I was reading what you wrote. How come she didn't have health insurance? Not health, life insurance.
That's a good question. I don't know. I actually started looking into it in February when she was diagnosed with CHF.
Yeah.
So I was going to think on it myself and, just get her a plan.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was asking for like $100+ a month.
Right. Yeah, the premiums.
Unfortunately, because she's a high-risk patient.
Absolutely.
And 2, they would put her on a 18-month probation period. And we had already kind of thought that my grandma wasn't. She just took her toy away from me. I was playing with Kira's toy and she just smashed it out of my hand. But my grandma wasn't going to be around for maybe more than a year.
Sure.
Year and a half.
So the 18 months didn't make
and
sense.
I was like, well, it's going to be before the 18 months. Worst case scenario,
Sure.
Best case scenario, she'd be here forever.
Right.
That's what I'd like to. But at that point, either they would give me a prorated amount of what I paid, or they'd just be like, "Oh, tough luck,"
All right. Thanks for the money. Thanks for coughing up.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
And since I was going to be the only one paying it, it's like that's a hefty price to pay, and then at the end, still not be able to use it for anything.
Okay.
That's the only reasoning I have.
Why she didn't have it? Makes sense. It makes sense.
I have no idea.
I hear you. That was, and then, because you had written it, I had to ask.
Oh, no problem. And then my mom told me, because instantly I thought, well, I'll do a GoFundMe, and, you know, my friends on Facebook will donate, you know, a little bit here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I'll put the money to that. But then my mom's like, well, they told me that I need all the money by Thursday, that the funeral home said that. I was like, that's not the way they do business. Oh my God, excuse me. I'm sure you can give them like some amount, and then they give you a certain amount of time to pay the rest. But I don't think anybody can just cough up $3,800. Because at first it was going to be 20. She had gone to one, and it was going to be like 28. And then because she went to go see that one in the parking area, and where it was located was not adequate for the amount of people that are going to be, you know, viewing my grandma. And so she went with this other one, but then they told my mom, they didn't tell her how much, but they told her that there could be an additional fee, you know, depending on the size of my grandma. Again, my grandma was a big woman. She was easily over 300 pounds.
Mm.
And it's not bedtime. And so once they found out that my grandma was like 300 plus, they called my mom back and they're like, well, it's going to be $1,000 more. And so it jumped from the 27 to like 37 or 38.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I mean, the good thing is we have about 2,000 right now. There's still a little bit trickling in. But
mm-hmm.
I was like, well, you know, at this point, I was like, I don't know him. I mean, I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm just desperate at this point. I'm just asking people if they want to donate.
Sure.
I absolutely hate asking people. I'm an only child, so I've kind of always done everything by myself. My mom was a single mother, so I've always done everything by myself. I've lived on my own since I was 19.
Mm.
And so I was like, well, you know, at this point, what's the worst that can happen? He says no, and back to just trying to, you know, take care of my grandma, you know.
Yeah. So the goal amount here on the page says 3,000, but you said that you guys already had some 2,000 saved. Uh-oh. Fucking technology. I swear. We'll try again. We had a disconnection. Something must have come up. Just another place on the internet. Oh, Thomas. Least I can do is ask what's going on. You know? Maybe well, I won't question. I won't speculate. Question, I'll always question. Yeah, that's what I figured. Phone died. Okay, I guess you're on a charger now.
Well, I had connected to the charger, but I was charging my iPad earlier.
Yeah.
So I disconnected my phone charger and never reconnected it.
That's okay.
And I connected my charger on my phone, and I was like, oh, okay, it's charging, and then it died, and I was like, oh, shit. But, what were you saying?
Huh, interesting. I'm gonna try and, let's try this. Maybe this will help. It'll go, okay. So, where were we? Oh yeah, okay, so you said that you guys had about 2,000 that you could already throw down towards it?
Yeah.
And then the rest, I'm looking at your GoFundMe page right now. It's at 255 out of 3,000. So
yeah,
the difference that you need to make up is 1,800, right? Because your family has about 2,000 that you can already put towards it. So I guess 3,000 is the goal.
What we really need is 3,800, but I just put up the GoFundMe 3,000 because you never really get what you're looking for.
Yeah, of course.
And then GoFundMe takes out their cut.
They do take out a cut. What do they take out? It's
30 cents per donation, and then it's a percentage.
A percentage.
Yeah, it's so out of every dollar that's donated, they take 30 cents.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get 70 cents for every dollar.
I see.
And then they still take like a percentage or something.
All right.
It's kind of stupid. But yeah, so I think it's like 210 on GoFundMe. Then on Facebook, one of my friends gave me 100.
Oh, okay. It's two separate things. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's 310.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, I won't get that until Saturday, the 21st. But nonetheless, it's 310. My mom has about, I think, 1,900.
Will Facebook take money out of what people send you?
No, they don't. But that's why I sent the one for Google, because that way people could just send it to Google Pay.
Okay.
And I could just give that, because tomorrow is Wednesday. We're going to just go and try to give the most that we can to the funeral home tomorrow.
Right.
And then just try to see how long they'll wait for us for the rest. Hopefully we'll be able to come up with that. And then by the 21st, I should have another $300 that comes out of the combined GoFundMe and Facebook.
Okay.
So that's...
And remind me again, what day is the memorial set?
The 20th, which is Friday.
Okay. Everything's coming up. It's all very fast. Okay.
So that's about 2210 total that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the total, it's 3,800.
Yeah.
1,600.
All right. Well, I'll do what I can.
No problem. I mean, any little bit counts. I mean, that's...
Where I am right now is, I've been trying to get my own footing for a pretty long time. And so I'm still very much figuring things out, but I'll try to help how I can.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how are you doing after your trip? Like, you got your dog back, right?
Oh yeah, I did get my dog back. Yep.
That was, I mean, from what I read, that was crazy. Like, that's one hell of a night.
Yeah, it was rough. It was definitely rough. But
well, good thing you're safe and everything worked out.
Yeah, we both made it back here in one piece. I lost a lot of stuff, and so I'm still in a hole for the stuff. But there's still more that I can do on my own end in order to try to get out of that hole. And really,
when you say stuff, what do you mean? Like
property, a lot of valuables.
Realistic or like,
No. I mean, like filling out paperwork,
Oh,
trying to get what I can back. You know, I detailed it all in a blog post, and then now there's some stuff that I need to do. Just insurance claims, and hopefully some of those get approved, and I'll have some money that I can use to offset the losses. But you know, off of insurance, even if everything goes through, it's still quite a big loss.
yeah.
And then on top of that, when I say I'm trying to get stable footing, I mean like I haven't had a sustainable position for a long time. I've been eating into savings, you know. So I've also been thinking about how to do things here to meet my needs and then have some surplus. So for me, individually, it's very challenging to say, well, Abel, here's $100 to help. But again, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, I mean, even $10 is fine. I mean, it's not, anything is better than nothing.
Yeah. But
I mean, even listen, like, this is gonna sound, but I mean it. Even just hearing me out and listening to me today was, still very, very meaningful. I haven't really. The only person I've been talking to is my boyfriend, and he also wants to, donate. He's like, well, when I get my bonus, I'll donate it. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, you being there for me. It sucks because he's in Arizona right now, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're still, sitting there being my anchor, and that's worth way more to me than you trying to give me money to help me with this. Fortunately, you don't have it right now, so it's fine.
Right.
But sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. So
yeah,
completely understandable.
That's a bit of it. I mean, for me, it's just I want to understand what happened, and I see it now. So I appreciate your sharing. Again, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is thank you, and thanks for letting me talk to you and share with you my story.
I try to stay accessible for a reason, right?
Yeah. I guess, good luck and everything you're doing, and hopefully, your insurance things come through and you can get what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I have some faith.
How did the whole adult industry thing pan out, or how did that even go?
What part of it?
Well, the video that you showed that one time, how did that, had you been working on something like that, or did that just kind of come out of nowhere, or?
Which video are we talking about?
The one where it was you and the other Asian guy?
Yeah, the scene?
Yeah.
There was some lead up to it. I talked about it. It was something that was on the calendar. It was something that I was working towards. I set the wheels in motion a couple of months before the shoot actually took place. But it was something that I was looking forward to.
Is that going to pan out into maybe something? Or
in 2020, they indicated they'll invite me back out there. They would like to, and then on the next trip out to LA, I could expect they'd like to set me up to do a couple of shoots during a single trip out there. So I'd at least come back with some money in my pocket. It wouldn't all be eaten up by airfare and testing fees.
Well, just be careful on your next trip. Like they say, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, but provided that we learn from it, it makes us stronger.
Yeah, you gotta learn.
Don't know.
Got to learn. But thank you. Thank you for your well wishes. Sorry about this recent loss for your family. I know it's tough. Not too long ago, I also lost my grandmother. My mom, not my mom's side, my dad's side.
How
Things will
long
get
ago
better.
was that?
It was for us June, May,
Oh,
June.
wow.
I have the date down somewhere, but it's not like I committed to memory. I don't need to carry it around. It's in
Yeah.
the cloud.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's part of life, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I tell my mom. Like, it hurts that my grandma's gone, and you know, but she'd been suffering for so long. It seems that the good thing is that she no longer has to suffer,
Yep.
and that's basically my outlook now on death. Like, it sounds so wrong to say it, but it's the truth that this world is a mess. I mean,
Yep.
everybody says that, oh, you're going to go to hell or you're going to go to heaven. And I like to think we are in hell. I mean, this world is an absolute mess. And those of us that aren't, able to make it or at least somewhat survive when you pass away due to sometimes people have psychological issues or sometimes people just have sickness and they're suffering day to day.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't even know. And once they're gone, they don't have to suffer no more.
Indeed.
That's my look on that.
Maybe you'll keep on changing. Maybe that's as far as you go, right? Maybe that's you hit the truth.
Who knows?
But we'll be in touch. I'll let you know when I've made some moves. Again,
Thanks,
I'll
man.
do what I can.
And again, like I said, just thank you. It's nice chatting with you.
Hey, same to you. Even
Okay.
if it's at this time.
Okay. Bye. Take care.
All right. Sleep well.
You too.
Bye bye.